everyone, my name is Chloe and today I'm here to do the mid-year book freakout tag. So if you have not seen this tag going around, it is going around like wildfire, and I feel like people start it at like the end of May, early June, but I'm like so indecisive about things that I like to wait until the end of June when I really feel like it's halfway through the year because my answers may change. So here I am doing the mid-year freakout tag. I will link my past video or videos, I don't know how many times I've done this, of this tag, as well as the original creator and the questions. So let's just get into it. So the first one is the best book you've read so far in 2022. So if you guys have been around for any of my end of the year videos, you know that I cannot pick just one book. So I'm going to pick a few. My favorite women's fiction was The Unplanned Life of Josie Hale by Stephanie Eding. So this is about this woman who, she and her husband are like on the brink of divorce. They kind of have a one night like, can we save this marriage thing? And like the next day or something, she finds out that like he went and slept with somebody else the next day too. So she's like, all right, I'm out, bye. And she finds herself pregnant and she's got this hankering for fried food. So she's living with her parents and she goes to the like state carnival or whatever and runs into her best friend and her crush from high school. And they are two guys that live together and they're like, I think they're all early 30s and just trying to like figure life out. And so they're like, hey, why don't you move in with us? That'll get you out of your parents' house. It'll make rent a little cheaper for us and we can all work together to like encourage ourselves to figure life out. So she does, and I just love the relationship between like her and these guys. And one of her crush has a child was a product of like a senior year high school relationship, so she's a tween now, and just navigating all of that, I just loved that. And reading that as a pregnant woman in the summer, and just all of her foodie talk was so great. I just love like first love, second chance, favorite trope. Found family, favorite trope. Foodie, love it. So this had a lot going for it and it was just done really well, so I loved it. And then my favorite thriller is Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. This is one that I have heard hyped up for so long, and so I was really nervous going into it that I would hate it. But you guys, I loved it. So this is about a young boy who is, he's like a teenager and he is convicted of molesting little girls that he is teaching swimming lessons to or something. And so the book is told from his mother's perspective after he gets out. And it's also told, like we also get glimpses of his time in jail through his perspective. And the end of this book, like I finished it during nap time and I was in pain. I was like, it was so heartbreaking, and reading it as a mom, it really makes you question, like, what would you do for your kids? What's the right thing? What's not the right thing? And I don't even know if I would really call this a thriller as much as just like a heavy domestic drama or whatever. I don't know. It is heavy. It is hard. Lots of trigger warnings, so definitely make sure you check those out. And then the last favorite of the year is Starfish by Lisa Fipps. This is a middle grade book about this girl. She's, I can't remember, upper elementary school, and she is teased relentlessly for her weight. And it is just brutal. And even her parents are unkind to her, and it is brutal. And she falls in love with swimming, and she becomes a starfish so she can take up as much space as she wants to in the water, and she's weightless, and she just doesn't have to deal with some of the stuff. And I just loved this little girl, and I loved thinking about like how I'm going to raise little girls, and it was heartbreaking to see how people treated her, but it was such a touching story. I would highly recommend. So there's my favorite women's fiction, thriller, and middle grade, which are my three favorite genres. So next is the best sequel you've read so far in 2022. And you guys, I was looking through my spreadsheet, and I personally have read like maybe one or two books in a sequel, and I didn't like either of them. So, however, my daughter and I read through series all the time. So I'm going to say another middle grade, and I'm going to say every book in the Mayhem series. So I'm not sure when we started it, but we have read all through the series, and each book is so great. It is, I think the 12th book maybe comes out this summer, and they are all so good. So each book I love a little more. It is about a little girl named Mia Mayhem. She's Mia Macaroni, but she finds out that her parents are both superheroes, and she is also a superhero. So she goes to this training school after her regular school called the Pits, and she's trying to discover what her superpower is, and she's navigating that and like regular life, and she has superhero friends, and it's so cute, so sweet, and it is really like my daughter has written her letters, and I should like send them to the author. I don't like, I'm like, and then I write back as Mia Mayhem, but I really should send them to the author. But so good, love that series. Next is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. So there's tons. Like, there are so many that I want to read that I haven't, but I'm going to say The Last House on the Street by Diane Chamberlain, just because I love Diane Chamberlain. It came out in January, and it's a historical thriller, and my favorite book of all time, maybe, is The Dream Daughter by her, and that is also kind of a historical thriller kind of drama. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that I want to read it. I want to read everything in her backlist, and I've gotten close, but this one came out in January 2022. I need to read it. I don't know why I haven't. Next is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I'm going to say It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. And this comes out in October, and it is a prequel to her story, It Ends With Us. Now, I'm really excited for this book, not because I think it's going to be a 5-star guarantee, but because I just loved It Ends With Us. And this is the story of Axel, which is the male protagonist in that book. It's his story before. And so sometimes, I feel like getting the other perspective, even if it is a different timeline, it can kind of feel like a money grab. I don't think Colleen would do that. And so I'm not really worried about that, but it also can sometimes feel redundant. And so I'm not guaranteed that this is going to be a 5-star, but I'm really curious to see what she does with it and how it is, and just to be back in that world. So that's my answer, although I could put 1,000 books there. Next is my biggest disappointment. So I have two. Always in December by Emily Stone. So this is a book that I thought I was going to love, because I loved One Day in December and all those that are very similar. But this one is about this couple who has a one weekend kind of fling, and then he just up and leaves. And it's one true love. They keep coming into each other's lives throughout the years, but he keeps a secret from her that is huge. And also as they are coming together and stuff, there's a lot of cheating going on. I mean, they both have full lives going on, and they continue to not pursue each other, but fate keeps bringing them together, and they're just oh, well, we're together. Forget everything else that's going on in our lives. Let's just pursue this. And I really didn't like that. I also just didn't feel the chemistry between the characters. This just did not work for me. So that was a huge disappointment, because I was really craving something in the vein of the other things that I had read that sounded similar, and it just did not hit the mark. Then the other one I have is one that I actually really liked. I gave it 4 stars. However, it's Don't Look Away by Carola Lovering, Can't Look Away, I'm sorry, by Carola Lovering. And this one started out so good. The first probably 2/3, I remember I called my sister and I was like, this is so good. You have got to read this. And I was loving it. And then it just fizzled. And so it's about this woman who, she's now happily married. She has a daughter, and they're trying to conceive a second child, and they're really struggling, and et cetera, et cetera. When she was young, she had this one true love, with this musician. They had this really intense first love with each other, and then things happened where they broke up, and now he is back in her life because he's married to one of her new mom friends. And so we get her perspective, both then and now timelines, as well as his wife's perspective. And his wife is for some reason stalking our main character, and we don't know why, and we don't really know. We get as the story unfolds and we see the past and present, we get to see kind of what's going on, and it's told, her perspective is told in second person, and so it's really creepy as she's stalking her. And I really just wanted some epic showdown at the end, and it didn't really happen. It just kind of fizzled. And so that was a huge disappointment, because the first 2/3 was probably a 5-star, and then I think I ended up giving it 3.5 or 4, because the ending just didn't hit for me. Next is my biggest surprise, and I would say Ain't That a Mother by Adiba Nelson. So I feel like I've talked about this book a lot lately, but this is a memoir about a woman, Adiba Nelson. She is a author as well as a activist for cerebral palsy. Her daughter has palsy, and she is just talking about like what it's like to be a Black woman in this world, what it's like to raise a daughter with disabilities, how she's trying to break like generational trends and trying to do better for her family and her daughter, and how that's hard to do. And like, I normally feel like memoirs, I kind of need to like be connected with the person or be able to like closely relate to their life or something to be able to like really get a lot out of it. And I don't feel like that was true at all in this. And I listened to it on audio, and she narrates it herself. And there are times where she's choking up. There's times where she's laughing. And like, I mirrored those emotions. I felt all of the things, and I just loved her like sense of humor as well. And the mix of like hard hitting and funny was great. And I just thought it was so good. And I learned a lot that I didn't expect to learn. And I was just shocked by how much I liked this book. Next is my favorite new author, either debut or new to you. So this year so far, I have discovered Shalini Boland, and she's a thriller author that I would say she's really good at like almost like beginner thrillers. Like they're very straightforward and relatively short, easy to read. And I have really enjoyed everything I've read by her. So I think I've read like 3 in the past couple months, and I really enjoyed it. So she's not debut by any means, but she's new to me. Then my newest fictional crush. So I don't really get fictional crushes, I just don't. But if I was going to, I would like fall for a cinnamon roll hero, and like I just love that. And so I'm going to say that both of the guys, I guess, from the Unplanned Life of Josie Hale, just because they are so like sweet, and like her baby that she's pregnant with becomes like their baby, and they protect her fiercely, and yet they're like on the same, like they're just teammates, and they're just really great. And cinnamon rolls for sure. And I loved them, and I loved their like that whole situation. I mean, so I would say either of them. Next is my new favorite character. So I'm going to say Cameron from The Final Hunt by Audrey Cole. And this book is about this woman who her husband is out like hiking this expedition or whatever, and he turns up missing, allegedly like killed by wolves or something. And then as he like they're trying to like deal with stuff with his death, she finds some incriminating pictures that he might be this serial killer known as the teacher killer. And so she's like, is he really dead, or is he on the run because he's the teacher killer? And so the cops are like not wanting to like dig into it a lot, and she is. So she takes matters into her own hands, and she is like a take no crap kind of lady. And I just loved how she was like doing her own thing, taking matters into her own hand, figuring stuff out. And then like the whole like the climax, I guess, of the story, what she did, I was like, dang, girl, dang. And I just loved her. I thought she was really great. Next is a book that made you cry. So I've already talked about this. I'm saying Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. And I feel like in order to, like, if I don't cry a lot in books, I just don't. I don't know if I'm heartless. I don't know what's going on. But if a book makes me cry, it's going to be in my favorites of the year. So I was like trying not to repeat books, but it's going to happen because my favorite books make me cry. I guess I'm not happy unless I'm sad. So Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry, so good. A book that made you happy. So reading in general makes me happy. That's why I do it. Any book that I give like 3.5 stars or more makes me happy. However, I'm going to say Karen's Witch by Ann M. Martin. So my daughter is 4, but she is very advanced, and she loves chapter books and has loved chapter books for about a year now. She's almost 4.5, and she just loves them. And she has really, like, I have a massive collection of Babysitter's Club books. I think I have the first like 110 on my shelf, and they are like the originals, and they're so prized to me that she's like, Mom, can we start reading those? And so we read 1 or 2, and they're just a little bit old for her, obviously. And so I was like, let's try the Little Sisters books. So we started with Karen's Witch, which is the first in the Babysitter's Club Little Sisters. And I don't have very many, in fact, like any of the Little Sister books, and I didn't realize it's as long of a series as the Babysitters Club book, and it all follows Karen, who is Christy's little sister. Christy is the one who started the Babysitters Club. It's Christy's stepsister. And so we read Karen's Witch, and they are also making the graphic novels of these books, of the Little Sisters books. So we are reading, like, I've got both from the library. So, like, I'll read to her a couple chapters a night. And then she has the graphic novel so she can kind of follow along through pictures. And she's loving it. I'm loving it. It is making me so happy to, like, re-experience the Babysitters Club through this relationship with my daughter, as well as, like, I've never read these Little Sister books. So I think it's really fun to, like, it's almost like I'm reading them again. So they make me super happy. Then the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. So I'm going to say, like, I don't know. I don't like buy a book for its cover, but this one I think is beautiful. Take My Hand. And this one, so this is another one that, like, whatever it was, a new release that I want to read and haven't. This one is really timely. So this one is it's 1973 in Montgomery, Alabama, and this woman finishes her nursing degree and gets her first job. What does it say? Well, she wants to make a difference, especially in her African-American community. At the Montgomery Family Planning Clinic, she hopes to help women shape their destinies to make their own choices for their lives and bodies. And so her first clients are 11 and 13-year-old girls that the state or whatever is wanting to put on birth control. And so she, like, falls for this family, and then something happens until one day she arrives at their door to learn the unthinkable has happened and nothing will ever be the same for any of them. So she goes on and, like, lives a full life, has a full career. And there's a couple cases that just, like, she can't get rid of in her mind. And so because history repeats what we don't remember. And you guys, 1973 is the year that Roe v. Wade happened, and now 2022 is the year it got reversed. And I don't want to get political on this channel. I just think this is a really timely story and a really probably scary story now in light of current news. And yeah, it's a beautiful cover. I'm really excited to read it. If you can see these two girls holding hands, I think this will be a really hard read, but a very beautiful read as well. The colors and stuff are just gorgeous. So last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And this question, I don't know that I've ever answered it because it's just all of them. Like, if I could do nothing but read, I would get through a great TBR really quick, but I don't make, like, huge TBRs. I don't even really make monthly TBRs anymore. So I don't know. I'm doing a few summer reading challenges. I will link those videos down below so you can see what books I'm reading for that. And so those, but otherwise beyond that, just whatever catches my fancy. So that is it for this tag. If you have done it, link it down below. Let me know that you've done it. I'll come check it out on your channel. If you don't have a channel, I'll have the questions down below. So leave me your answers because I would love this. Like, I am watching all of these with pen and paper ready for recommendations. So let me know, especially what your favorites and all that kind of stuff is. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.